Jake, can I ask you something honestly? Why do people quit things so quickly, even when they really care about them?
That's a deep question already. I think people don't always realize they're quitting. It doesn't feel like giving up. It feels like taking a break or being practical.
That's so true. It rarely looks dramatic, right? No big announcement, no emotional goodbye, just a quiet decision like, I'll do it later.
Exactly. And later is a very comfortable lie. It sounds responsible, but often it means never.
So why does this happen? If someone starts with motivation, what changes?
The energy changes. In the beginning, everything feels exciting. You have a new goal, a new routine, maybe even a new identity. But that excitement doesn't last.
Right. The beginning feels magical. You feel like a new person. You think, this time I'm different.
Yes, but the problem is people confuse excitement with commitment. Excitement is emotional. Commitment is a decision.
Oh, that's powerful. So when the excitement disappears, people think something is wrong.
Exactly. They think, I don't feel motivated anymore, so maybe this isn't for me. But actually, that's just the normal middle phase.
Let's talk about that middle. Why is it so hard?
Because it's boring, repetitive, quiet. There's no applause, no visible progress, no excitement. It feels like nothing is happening.
And that's dangerous, right? Because when you feel like nothing is happening, you start doubting everything.
Yes, you start questioning the goal, your ability, even your identity. You think, maybe I'm just not good at this.
But what if something is happening, just not in a visible way?
That's the truth most people miss. Growth is often invisible at first. You don't see it immediately, but it's building quietly.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about learning English. At first, you feel stuck. You can't speak fluently, you make mistakes, but slowly your understanding improves. You hesitate less. You become more confident.
Yes, and one day, suddenly, you understand a sentence or respond naturally, and you're like, wait, when did that happen?
Exactly. That's delayed progress. It shows up after a lot of invisible work.
So why don't people trust that process?
Because we want fast results. We want proof that our effort is working. And when we don't see that proof, we panic.
So we mistake silence for failure?
Yes, silence feels like failure, but sometimes it's just the process working quietly.
That's such an important idea. But there's another thing I've noticed. People often quit when things start feeling uncomfortable.
Oh, yes, that's a big one. Discomfort is misunderstood. People think discomfort means something is wrong.
But does it?
Not always. Sometimes discomfort means you're growing, you're learning something new, you're stepping out of your comfort zone.
So discomfort is not a warning sign, it's a growth sign?
Exactly. But our brain doesn't like that. It prefers comfort. So it sends signals like, stop this is too hard.
It's like your brain is trying to protect you, but in the wrong way.
Yes, it confuses unfamiliar with dangerous.
That explains why people quit things like public speaking, fitness, or learning a new skill. Not because they can't do it, but because it feels uncomfortable.
Exactly. And if you quit every time something feels uncomfortable, you never grow.
That's a tough truth. But let's talk about comparison. I think that also makes people quit early.
Definitely. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose motivation.
Because you look at someone else and think, they're so much better than me.
Yes, and you forget that you're seeing their highlight, not their struggle.
Social media makes it worse, right? Everything looks fast, perfect, and easy.
Exactly. But real growth is slow, messy, and unpredictable.
So when you compare your messy reality to someone else's perfect image, you feel like you're failing.
Yes, even when you're actually making progress.
So what should people focus on instead of comparison?
They should focus on consistency. Ask yourself, am I still showing up? That's more important than being ahead.
I love that. Am I still here? That's the real question.
Exactly, because if you're still trying, you haven't failed.
There's something else that feels a bit sad. Sometimes people quit right before things start to improve.
Yes, that happens a lot. People leave just before the breakthrough.
Why does that happen?
Because the hardest part often comes right before progress becomes visible. It's like a test of patience.
So people think this isn't working and they stop when they were actually very close.
Exactly. They were on the verge of improvement, but they didn't know it.
That's heartbreaking.
It is, because they don't fail due to lack of ability, they fail due to lack of patience.
So, what can someone do in that moment when they feel like quitting?
First, they should pause and reflect. Ask, am I truly done or am I just tired?
That's a powerful question because sometimes it's not the goal that's the problem, it's just your energy.
Exactly. And second, make the goal smaller.
Yes, that helps so much. Instead of thinking about the whole journey, just focus on one step.
Right. If something feels overwhelming, reduce it. Make it simple and manageable.
What about motivation? Should people wait to feel motivated?
No, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline is more important.
So instead of asking, do I feel like doing this, ask, can I do a little anyway?
Exactly. Even a small action keeps the process alive.
I also think people need to be kinder to themselves.
Definitely. People are very harsh on themselves. One mistake and they think, I'm a failure.
But one mistake doesn't define you.
Not at all. Progress is not perfect. It's messy.
So instead of quitting, people should allow imperfect consistency?
Yes, a messy effort that continues is better than a perfect effort that stops.
That's such a beautiful idea.
And one more thing. Remember your reason.
Not the dramatic reason, but the real one?
Exactly. The honest reason why you started. That gives you strength when motivation disappears.
So, in simple words, don't trust your feelings too much in difficult moments?
Yes, feelings are temporary. Your decisions matter more.
That's such a helpful reminder.
And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not to start something new, but to continue what you already started.
Wow, that really stayed with me.
Because staying is a skill. It's not always exciting. It's often quiet and ordinary.
But those small, ordinary decisions, they change your life over time.
Exactly. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stay a little longer.
So maybe the real message is this: don't quit too early because you might be closer than you think.
Yes, trust the process, trust your effort, and most importantly, don't walk away from yourself.
That's beautiful.
Slightly dramatic, but beautiful.
Only slightly.